So, what's up? Today, I want to talk about the second COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 or coronavirus, better said, sorry, wave, especially here in Europe, where it hits very hard, especially with the new mutation and everything. I hope y'all know about the new mutation. I think you should by now, and how everything is evolving with the second lockdown in most states of Europe or countries. Yeah, I would say I wanna get right to it, and I don't wanna waste actually any time. So yeah, Corona second extension of the lockdown. Corona keeps the world in suspense, and a lot has happened since my last update here on the channel on the topic. The most important news may have been that vaccinations have started in many countries around the world. In Germany, Switzerland, USA, UK, wherever. The vaccination campaign got off to a sluggish start, especially in Germany, because I'm from Switzerland, so near Germany, and I know that Germany has some issues with the start of the vaccine. For at least two reasons. There is not enough vaccine, and the German bureaucracy, bureaucracy is holding back the action. First of all, all people over 80 years of age should be vaccinated. That's right. This happens in nursing homes, but also privately. On one problem is that call centers are overloaded, and many people who want to be vaccinated do not get an appointment. It will probably take months until enough people have been immunized, yeah, by the vaccinations, and a significant decrease in infections is achieved. It's too late for the second and the current wave. So the second wave, as we are experiencing it right now, I think the second wave is way worse than the actual first wave was. I don't know how y'all experience it, but to hear about the daily deaths, that's really shocking to hear how many people are actually dying of COVID-19 every single day. Corona lockdown in overtime. Yesterday, unsurprisingly, the lockdown was extended and tightened for the second time here near Germany. Switzerland, not. Switzerland has like strange rules, but I just want to talk about the main states of Europe. I think the main states are Germany and UK, right? And maybe even France, yeah, but not Switzerland. I don't think so. It is very likely that it will not be the last extension. The previous measures could only slightly reduce the daily new infections. In many places, the 7-day incidence is over 150. The goal of politicians to reduce this number to 50 is very far removed. The politicians are advised by scientists who give their recommendations on the lockdown measures based on the scientific knowledge with which they generate models of the infection process, and that's a fact that personally disappoints me. Although the virus has been rampant for a year, the scientific knowledge regarding the infection rate seems to be limited. So far, even the role of schools has not been clarified, and the studies on whether and how children spread the virus are contradictory. So yeah, it's very important, especially now where the schools are closed, to get some education. To still get some education. I'm still going into school. Like, I'm not over 18 yet and working, but I'm 16, still going to school and everything. But it's very important right now that people that that are still going to school and the schools are now closed, that they still get some education per day and not just play video games all day. Like I also play video games, but just play it the whole day. Nah, mm-mm, that's not it. And that's a fact that personally I already read that. Sorry. Yeah, that's my opinion about that. So let's move on. Logical considerations actually lead to the conclusion that the role of schools cannot be that great because the students have been on vacation for 4 weeks without the number of new infections being significantly reduced. Retail and hospitality are likely to play a similar role. The latter has been closed since the beginning of November, and the second extension of the lockdown, the personal freedom of movement of people from regions with a 7-day incidence of more than 200 was restricted. This is how you react to day trippers who went tobogganing with their families. I cannot understand this measure either. There's absolutely no evidence to suggest that there were any outdoor super spreader events at all, with the possible exception of crowded stadiums. At the very beginning of the pandemic, I have gotten the impression that scientists and politicians are cluelessly groping around in the dark. Location of infections. It is becoming increasingly clear, however, that the vast majority of infections are likely to be introduced into families from the workplace or schools, etc. Yeah, I think that's a big super spreaders. Yeah, that's why homeschooling or home office is not that wrong, even though maybe some people don't like it. Maybe it's the issue for the pandemic that it's so crazy, the second wave. A fact that is ignored and hushed up by politicians and the media, because after schools, retail outlets, restaurants, and all kinds of events and public gatherings are closed, forbidden, and taboo. This remains the only driver of infection, with the exception of infections, of course, which are acquired in hospitals and care facilities. There it was not possible to bring the virus under control. AHA rules seem to have limited effectiveness. So AHA rules are like 1.5 meters distance, wear a mask, etc. And there are still insufficient FFP antivirus masks in place, not to mention filters in air conditioning systems and corresponding ventilation systems. Of course, you didn't manage to reduce the occupancy of care facilities and hire more staff. The summer was given away Italy and people limited themselves to making traveling more difficult. Yeah, why not a hard lockdown, like a 2.5 week quarantine time? In Germany, one always speaks of a hard lockdown, but in fact it is still a mostly private lockdown. Only when all businesses are closed can the infection rate be significantly suppressed. The chance to go into a real hard lockdown over the Christmas holidays was wasted here. And yes, I mean it. Over the Christmas, they should have. I know it would be hard, but that would be the best time they could use over Christmas, over the not maybe New Year, but over the Christmas. I know many people would have been upset, but we could live normal now if we did that, as the countries did in November that were at least briefly successful with their measures. Yeah, such a lockdown is not welcome in Germany, Switzerland, etc. However, as it would result in massive earnings and tax losses, so private life is now significantly restricted while you can still go about your duties. Are the measures proportionate at all? This question should be asked again and again because all of our fundamental rights are violated in the most massive and unprecedented way, at least since the Federal Republic of Germany came into existence. What are these basic democratic rights worth if they can simply be overridden? The high death rates and impending overload of the health system are used as justification. Clearly, numerous people die from COVID-19. The excess mortality statistics are not evaluated until the end of November, whereby one must take into account that there was a significant increase in death rate in December, right? And why? That's a good question. In December, we didn't have that many rules, first of all, and second of all, the mutation. I think that's the most logic way of thinking. Why did the deaths and just everything decreased in December? I think that's the best like answer to that. Okay. But it's crazy. The blue line of the graph represents, so the graph, which you can see the background, in the background, not background. The blue line of the graph represents average mortality for the years 2016 till 2019. The red line represents the death rate for 2020. The area between the red line and the blue average line represents the number of people who participated in and not just with corona died. The blue area with the peak in week 10 was caused by excess mortality as a result of the flu epidemic 2017 and 18. The December mortality rate in 2020 will probably have a similarly yeah, high peak in the final statistics and crystal clear without the measures more people would have died. Whether this justifies these drastic cuts in the rights of everyone, especially over such long periods of time, everyone has to answer for themselves. Not to be forgotten are the massive, unevenly distributed economic consequences. If you refer to ethics, then of course I ask myself why in previous outbreaks of flu epidemics they haven't tried to keep the deaths rate as low as possible. From now on, do we always have to expect lockdowns and restrictions if an above average number of people die? And what about long priced in deaths that would have been preventable? This or the majority of people still die of cardiovascular disease, stroke, and cancer. Many of these diseases are caused by external influences which could be avoided with goodwill. Why are tobacco, alcohol, and sugar not constantly banned? Why is sport not compulsory? And why is so little done about pollution? That's the big question I have for politicians. I'm not saying I'm against these measures. Not at all. I'm not trying to grieve any politicians with my video right here. I'm just doing a video about honest opinions, not only from me but also from other people on the internet. What I read, okay, in the last few days, especially about the measurements, and I just wanted to say that what's going on right now because I didn't do a COVID-19 video in a pretty long time. So yeah, that was it. Thank you for listening and goodbye.